What's up, everybody? We're here with the Freak Show. This is the Maiden Voice, very first episode, brand new podcast, and I'm your host, Cyrex. Now, it is 3:20 bug in the morning. Bugs all around, as is custom for Miami and its climate. And we're going to talk about stuff. So, I guess since the bugs are doing what they do and bugging me, what I would like to get into is, don't y'all wish that bugs just wouldn't bother us? Like, on some real shit. Like, I want the bugs to exist, because they're necessary for our ecosystem, but if we change one part of the human DNA that didn't affect us in terms of how we are, but just affected the fact that the bugs want to be all around us and shit. Wouldn't that be pretty crazy? Wouldn't that be awesome? Think about if we took away that one thing that makes us so delectable to mosquitoes, our blood so delicious to them. Mosquitoes. I mean, they'll find nourishment elsewhere. Or if they just, kick rocks. Them and cockroaches. Cockroaches can go fuck themselves too. I do not think that I can count how many cockroaches I've killed in my life. Most bugs at this point, most bugs and little reptiles and other shit like that. I mean, if you're just letting me be, I'm gonna let you be. Cockroach, you cross my path, that means you are not trying to let me be. So, it's over for you. Oh, jeez. Okay, no, that's just a moth. Needless to say, I am recording this on my front porch. And this is just the time. This is the time that I like to be, up and active and stuff. I mean, it's not a good time, because it's 3:30 in the morning, but whatever, I like it. Now let's take a look here. So, I do want to, ask, before I just end this topic here, ask who does like bugs? And what bugs do you like, and why do you like them? Get at me. I'm up for having whatever type of conversation. On another note here, got a cup of water. Gotta keep hydrated. Put some ice in it too. That CVS Ready Ice. Shout out to CVS for that Ready Ice. I got my spices with me too. Now it's Memorial Day over here. It's 3:30 in the morning, so yeah, it's Memorial Day now. And I guess it just became Memorial Day over in California too. But not quite in Alaska or Hawaii. Not quite. Now, Memorial Day, as we all know, is a day to remember and honor those who have served our country, be they living or dead. So, of course, we do honor, support the troops, but not the wars. As much as I love my country, I really do not support, think about it, everybody tries to call us the world police, We sure enough act like it. Now, Memorial Day itself, it became first observed during the Reconstruction era. Yeah, so basically right after the Civil War is when we started calling anything Decoration Day and then Memorial Day. Decoration, of course, because when you have the very special I don't know the term for it, but the pins, the honors, basically. When you have a lot of honors, you're decorated with honors. You know. And on a side note, I do believe that decorated is where, like, that's the term that I guess kind of transformed into decked out. I'm just putting that together for the first time right now, so it sounds about right. Decorated, decked out. And so we called it Decoration Day. Decoration Day eventually became Memorial Day. And Memorial Day actually first became a national holiday in 1971. So that was actually a couple of years before we pulled out of Vietnam. We were in Vietnam already, but Nixon was still really trying to push that. I'm not even gonna argue about. I wouldn't argue about the Vietnam War myself, just because I just don't know enough about it. I do not. I know it was between North Vietnam, who was communist, and South Vietnam, who was not communist, who was anti-communist. So I mean, they basically read it. You could read that one the same way you read the Korean War. Literally, North and South were the same sides, and who backed the North? In both cases, Soviet Union, China. Who backed the South? In both cases. Well, I don't know about both cases, but for a fact, USA. And in the case of Vietnam, you had Thailand, you had Australia, I believe New Zealand may have been in the mix, and you had South Korea. Get like a whole, we've been through what you going through, so let us help you. But as we all know, it didn't work, which is a damn shame. Because, we all know a few Vietnamese immigrants, and they all got, or not all, but most of them got stories about, it was a motherfucker to go through that shit over there, and it was a double motherfucker to get here. But since we've been here, whew, it's not perfect, but it's not there. That's the vibe that I really get. Not even the vibe, it's almost explicitly what they're saying. At least almost explicitly what I'm hearing. And I definitely, respect that. I respect that because, think about how many countries you basically have nothing but a hard time. And I've never actually lived in another country, and I haven't left the country in 17 or 18 years. So I really would like to get that perspective, get that outside perspective, and really, appreciate it for myself. Maybe if I don't live somewhere else, but at least visit somewhere else and really, talk to people and really at least try to understand. Especially DR, I really want to get a little more in touch with my culture. Because I feel like, I haven't really had much in the way of role models. All my role models, they're either, they're American. They're of a variety of races, but they're American. They were all raised in America, mostly born in America. Non-Hispanic for the most part. As far as musicians, we have a bunch of Puerto Rican rappers. A bunch. We have, of course we got Joel Ortiz, who's, my personal favorite of them. We got Nori. We got, Fat Joe. We had Big Pun. Rest in peace, Big Pun. We got Chris Rivers now. I have no idea where Bodega Bams is from. Nor Emilio Rojas, but they are very solid. We got Baby Bash, who's Mexican. You know, he of course came through with that classic Sugar Sugar joint. We got Sendog, who's Cuban, and Be Real, who's Mexican. I mean, I can name a few more. We only got a couple Dominican rappers, though. As far as Dominican rappers, no. Drake is not Dominican. Let's be real as shit. No. No. I know we have this whole Dominican Drake. Nah. He fucking wishes. And the second that he tries to appropriate Dominican culture using J-Lo, oof, be on him like brown on rice, holla. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Drake, but I'm getting annoyed with him, and I'm getting exhausted with him. I'm getting very exhausted with him. As far as actually Dominican rappers, I mean, the only ones that I can name myself are like half Dominican. You know, we have Joel Santana, and we have Fabulous. We got Big Mato, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he's from there, or is he from the city? I'm not sure. I don't know too much Big Mato. But I don't think he does much of his music in English either. So, who else we got? I mean, I can't think of anybody. So, you know, we have an underrepresented culture. And even though I don't intend to do much rapping in Spanish at the moment, you know, at the very least do want to make sure that I am representing for my culture, that I am providing the people who, you know, the Dominicans, especially the Dominican Americans who are growing up in this country with kind of a lesser sense of identity, because they're split between that Dominican and American part, because they're split between you know, you're black over here, but you're Latino over here, because that treatment is very real, and it's not limited to Dominicans. But I mean, I can't think of a Dominican off the top of my head who doesn't suffer from that. You know, it's like a whole, they want to strip you of part of your identity to make you one thing that's easier to fit in the box, but nah, that is not the case. Most of us are Afro-Latino, Afro-Dominican. They call many of us mulatto, but I mean, you know, the one drop rule. Once you're anything but white, you ain't no white. You ain't no whitey. Yeah, right. I'm a quarter white, and I mean, that's never brought up. Ever. Now, what I want to do with that is really show my colors, really show my red, my blue, my white, my coat of arms and everything. I'm not, you know, people like to quantify how much of a culture you are. So let's say you're really white, you're really black. I mean, we do it for humor or whatever. But if we quantify my Dominicanness, my whatever, you know, my Dominicanness, you know, I wouldn't stack up particularly high. I don't like speaking Spanish that much. I don't. And just it being forced on me as a child, and the fact that most of the people that I was talking to in Spanish I didn't want to talk to as it was. Only people that I really like talking to in Spanish, you know, grandparents, basically. Older members of the family. And, you know, I'd like to say that's the case with my relatives down in the Dominican Republic, but I haven't seen them in 17 years. Now, one who one did come through. Actually, a couple came through. When one visited, he specifically asked me to speak to him in English. He was really trying to practice, so I happily obliged. We got to, we spoke in English. One thing was hella embarrassing though. Like I felt like such a jackass. So this was around the time that I was still a camp counselor, and so I was using usted a lot, usted, and we of course corrupt that to usted. Now, what happened is because I was speaking Spanish really only to, you know, to head counsel to a couple of head counselors and campers. So I didn't have to, not campers, well, a couple of campers, but head counselors and parents really. So I don't really have to use it, and I certainly didn't have to use a casual tone. Using that polite form just gets you by. I fucked around and used usted on my cousin. Yeah, no, he threw a wrench in that shit. He like, nah, nigga, si tu quiere. I actually said si usted quiere to my first cousin. Yeah, that's yeah. So, needless to say, that did not happen again. But I mean, for the rest of the night, we spoke English. We spoke English anyway at his insistence. We were talking somewhat about music, some of the stuff he listens to. At the time, he was listening to some Eminem and some Ramstein. Now, he's living in Spain, so I'm guessing that's where he may have gotten into Ramstein, or maybe he's just a metalhead. You know, I don't really know the culture of listening to non-Dominican music in DR. I don't know how parallel it is to, people here listening to non-American music. I listen to some non-American music, when I'm listening to my salsa, my merengue, my occasional bachata song, my reggaeton, even though like a bunch of the artists from any of the genres are American. But hey, I listen to Drake. I mean, are we really considering him an American artist? He did spend many parts of his, a good chunk of his childhood here. But I've always gotten the read more of Canadian. Like, do we call him an American Canadian or Canadian American? Barring the possibility of him being American, he's one artist who's not American who I listen to. And if we're putting Doom into that same classification, since he was born in London, the second you take away that designation, yeah, that's another artist I listen to who's not American. But I also will admit the overwhelming majority, look how I'm naming so few acts, overwhelming majority I'm definitely listening to is American. Doom is definitely American. I mean, Jay-Z, American. Childish Gambino, American. Talib Kweli, American. Absol, American. Kendrick Lamar, American. Earl Sweatshirt, American. Danny Brown, American. Myself, American. But I don't know, I guess it's kind of a different thing when it comes to America just because it's made up of so many cultures. But I mean, at this point, I think that there's a much lesser percentage of, homogenized countries. Like, yeah, there's nation states like Denmark where, Japan, where it's fairly homogenized. But, I mean, you still got plenty of offshoots of other cultures in there. I mean, how many Americans are in Japan? How many non-Japanese are in Japan? Also, this is something that I may have brought up in episode 0, is we call the indigenous people of America Native Americans, but we don't do the same for Africans for Europeans, for Asians. I've never, I mean, I went to Italy as a kid. I didn't hear the term native Italian, not once, nor native European or any craziness like that. We just call them European, we just call them Italian, but we don't call them Americans. We call the white settlers Americans. We've called them that for so long that they've developed the image of that. I'm sure every single country, when they hear the term Americans, they think of the white settlers that they, I'm sure, associate with pain, with the destruction of their culture. They, of course, being the true Americans. But I also see how it would be really difficult to integrate that term, because I can even think of difficulties that I would have right this second saying they're the true Americans. Oh wait, but I'm an American too. So, you know, I get, the difficulties associated with it, but I just feel like we should really call a spade a spade. But those are, some of my thoughts, and we'll get into some more of this and some more of other topics on, of course, future episodes. I intend to have, creative little segments and the such, just have interesting talks and hopefully actually have dialogues. So, you know what that means. So, as I said at the beginning, this is The Freak Show. My name is Cyrex, and thank you so much for tuning in to our very first episode. This is a little rough, it's a little rough around the edges, but you're gonna love it all the same. Thanks again for tuning in, and have a happy Memorial Day. Thank you.